What's going on, everyone? Today I want to go over Cyrene and if her value has gone down in the shitter throughout the version 3.7 beta iterations. Now, just to kick this video off rip, is she a bad unit? No. People are trying to make the argument that Cyrene is going to be tier 1 on release or like a B tier unit if you are a normal human being. I personally don't look at Pride 1, but if you look at the Pride 1 tier lists, when Cyrene in 3.7 drops, you will see her at tier 0. And the reason why is because of a few things. Number one, I want to get this out of the way immediately. Every character that comes out in Honkai Star Rail is meta. They are good. Almost never will this game come out with a unit that's bad or mid on release. We do have some exceptions. Sirene may be a little more niche, but she is still a great unit nonetheless. I got her E0, S0, and I am thriving with this unit. I use her with Finon and some of my other units as well. This is coming from someone who's still throwing Red May and Sparkle in the endgame, so I will be using Sirene for quite some time. An actual good example of a unit being mid on release is going to be Yunli. Yes, she could clear the endgame pretty well at the time, but there was no point in getting her. Clara still wasn't that bad at the time, and really there wasn't really too big of a difference. An E6 Clara would probably be better than an E0 Yunli. But look at the trends. People were saying that Finon was going to be tier 1 on release. People were saying that Anoxa was going to be bad on release. Finon, turns out, is actually the best DPS in game. Anoxa, turns out, he's not even worth building as a sub DPS, and if you're gonna get him, you might as well make him a main DPS because he's just that powerful, especially with Sirene, right? Crazy how almost every unit in the game is meta on release. Now, is Cyrene going to break this trend? No. It's just that Honkai Star Rail nowadays is following a new format, as opposed to how they were back then. In the earlier days of Honkai Star Rail, especially during the mid-era like Penacony, late Penacony, we saw back-to-back units that just were universal and worked with everyone. They were insane, broken units, back-to-back patches, and people were complaining. So what is Hoyoverse doing now with Honkai Star Rail? They're coming out with more niche units. Think of 3.5, Sirene and Hycealins, neither of which are these universal cracked Renmei 2.0 kind of units. Hycealins is a second coming for dot mains. If you don't have no dot units, you don't need Hycealins, great. Sirene, great for some units, the next big Harmony unit, but if you don't want her, then you don't need her. You don't need to pull her. She's one of those units where you get her, you'll do great with her. If you skip her and you don't pull her, that's okay too. There's only a handful of units who she really synergizes with extremely well, like Anoxa, like Finon, to an extent Face Shao, some of these other DPSs. But you're not skipping E1 Trippy, you're not skipping Robin, it's not like that. And because it's not like that, people want to make the argument that Sirene is bad, when she's not, she's just a little more on the niche side. 3.6, Permentor Terra, universal unit, but he's free. Evernight, great, but only niche. And Cyrene fits this category. She's continuing this trend. She's one of those supports where if you use her with the units that she's meant to be paired with, she will shine, but otherwise, you don't need her, and in some cases, you probably don't even want to get her. Even when the 3.7 beta first started, the intent behind Cyrene's kit was always apparent. She's meant to be a buffer and meant to preserve the longevity of these older Crystos Air DPSs or just the general Crystos Air units. And if you don't care about the longevity of your units, if you're one of these people who complains about power creep and you're always replacing your DPSs, you're always replacing your supports, you have an Acheron who can function perfectly fine at E0S1 and a Sparkle on bench with no relics, if that sounds like you, you're not going to want Cyrene. She goes against all of your principles. She's not going to work with future units, but that's kind of the whole point. People thought that Cyrene was going to be like the next Red May, where crazy on release, power creeps everybody, all this kind of crazy stuff. When is she as good now as she was, in other iterations of the beta? Maybe not. The light cone definitely got nerfed, some of the buffs, maybe not that crazy, but this is a balance patch that needed to be done. You have to realize that if Cyrene came out and she was like the Finon of supports in terms of just like power creeping everybody tremendously, the HP inflation and the power creep would actually go up to the point where it would be an issue, like Honkai Impact 3rd levels. People think that the power creep right now is bad. I'm telling you, as someone who does play Honkai Impact 3rd, It can be a lot worse than this. It can be way worse than this. We're lucky that it's only the DPSs who get noticeably power crept, and older supports and sustains can still work just fine. Cyrene would have totally killed that idea of the game entirely, and she would have made it so that any unit, it's support, DPS, it doesn't matter, any unit before 3.2 would just not be viable in the endgame no matter what. So is Cyrene bad? No. Do you need her E2 to make her work? No. You don't need the Eidolons. Maybe you're going to want E0 S1 minimum, but you can say the same about any other support in game that doesn't really synergize that well with Dese Stance. She's a phenomenal support with casters, with Finon, with some of these Kratos Air DPSs. She will make them work long term. She will make them go absolutely nuts. But she's not going to be this unit that you need, otherwise your account's going to fall behind. And at the same time, she's not going to be one of those units where you pull her and you're going to regret it and all this kind of crazy stuff. If you want Cyrene, if you want that Elysia variant, go ahead and pull her, bro. Don't let these people tell you that she's going to be bad on release. They say this every single time about the hype units, and they're wrong every single time. People were saying this about Finon. Look at where Finon's at right now. People were saying that about Anaxa, about Ceridra. All of these units are good. I'm telling you, they're good. If you want Cyrene, if you want Cyrene, get her. But here's the thing with Honkai Star Rail. No matter how much people complain about the power creep, at the end of the day, this is an easy game. It is not a difficult game where you have to be constantly zero cycling or else you're falling behind. It's not the kind of game where you need every meta unit, otherwise you're falling behind. If you want to play this game casually or play it like Genshin Impact, like a super casual Animal Crossing if it were the gacha game kind of experience, you can do that. Meaning that even if you don't have a single Kratos Air DPS, if you really want Cyrene, you can go ahead and get her. I pulled Evernight and I'm free to play. I pulled Evernight and I don't have Casterus, I don't have Hyacinth, no one, only E0 Tribi, and I'm still not regretting it. I use Evernight as a sub DPS or Saber. It's not conventional, but it works. The fact that a free-to-play player can get these kind of scores in the endgame as a non-meta player really goes to show that no matter who you pull, as long as you have the proper builds, the proper speed tuning, etc., you're going to be fine. The game's not going to be that much of a challenge. Even Anomaly Arbitration, if you have the proper builds, you're going to get most of the stars in the endgame, even if you're running like an E0 low investment Firefly team comp. But that's about it for this video. Just to finalize all my thoughts, Cyrene will be meta. I made a video going over that like a month ago. I'm gonna double down. She's gonna be meta. Whoever says that she's not gonna be meta are the same people who thought that Finon wasn't gonna be meta, and look at where he's at right now. Needing the E2 otherwise the support doesn't work is not true. You could say the same about any other support in game. People would say that Tribi needed her E1 otherwise she's bad. I'm using E0 Tribi and I don't care. People were saying about Ren Mei back in the day. E0, S0, still perfectly fine. Just go ahead and get Cyrene if you want her. If you don't want her, that's okay. But I'll see y'all. Goodbye.